Just wanted to talk, that's all.
Hey! How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. And Brian Bashman's happy because none of his favorite prospects got taken in the Rule 5 draft. Harrison Cohen, Henry Lalane, Eric Reiselman, all still in the Yankees organization. Congrats to you, my man. Congrats to you. Got what you wanted for Christmas. All right, let's talk about some Yankees rumors. But first, I do have to say a quick word about the Mets because our friends that are Mets fans are having a pretty bad week. Pretty tough week for the Mets. Pete Alonso signed with the Orioles today. Edwin Diaz went to the Dodgers. And it was really only like a $3 million difference between what the Mets had offered him versus what he signed with for the Dodgers. So that seems like a really small margin. He must not have liked playing for the Mets. And the fact that Pete Alonso exited, the Mets have gotten weaker. And you wonder if they've got too much money committed and tied up in Juan Soto. I know Steve Cohen can pay anything he wants, but hard to build a team and operate with any kind of responsibility when you got that much dedicated to one player. Anyway, American League East gained another big bat in Pete Alonso, so the Yankees are going to have their hands full, I'm sure, with him. And the Jays and Red Sox have both been aggressive this winter. The Rays added Cedric Mullins, so every American League East team is working to get better. So far, the Yankees have re-signed Ryan Yarbrough, and Trent Grisham is coming back. So that's where we're at. Also, I wanted to weigh in on the Manuel says, calm down. We got Trent Grisham. Dear Lord. Just to weigh in on the Sonny Gray comments about never wanting to be a Yankee. All I have to say is that not everybody can handle the pressure. And he's one of these guys where, we talk about body language. We talked about body language with Devin Williams. Sonny Gray kind of had that same feeling about him where he just didn't seem comfortable. It's not a surprise to me that he didn't like pitching in New York. Not everybody wants to be, part of the bright spotlight. But to run his mouth about it now, seems like he's just throwing some red meat to the Red Sox fans. It might have been one of those things where, the Boston PR told him to do that or something like that. Let's make a little bit of noise. But anyway, we have finally gotten some rumors over the last couple of days. Nothing seemed worthy of doing a full-on show about it until tonight. We did get word today that Freddie Peralta is on the Yankees' radar. And the Yankees are one of the teams that are looking at trading for him. That could open up the door for like a major blockbuster, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But first, I want to talk about shortstop. Corey Seager, I've seen his name mentioned a lot in the comments over the last, several weeks or so. Obviously, Volpe's injury was worse than we thought, right? It was worse than the Yankees thought. When they finally opened it up, there was a lot more damage. And so that makes you have to wonder, how much did that affect him? But also, how great can he come back from it? I think that's the part that people are overlooking is when you have to do extensive reconstruction in there, not everybody comes back from that, right? I mean, Miguel Andujar, he had extensive shoulder surgery and never recovered as a hitter. Greg Bird, same thing. I'm worried that Volpe might be on that path. And that might force the Yankees to look outside the organization because I don't think you can rely on Caballero to be your everyday shortstop. I mean, the guy's a 600-something OPS, right? I've seen Corey Seager's name mentioned a lot, and I want to just pull up his metrics and kind of take a look at him and see if he makes sense. Wouldn't this be the ultimate Brian Cashman move, by the way? Right? Pass on a guy when he can still win you a World Series title in his prime. He goes somewhere else, he wins the title, and now he's 31, and he's maybe starting to get past his prime a little bit, although he's still quite good by the metrics, but he has slowed down some. Now that he is past his, prime years anyways, entering his 30s, now's the time Cashman would go pick him up. Is he better than Anthony Volpe? Absolutely. Absolutely he's better than Anthony Volpe. But would it be a tough contract to absorb in its entirety? I think so. Here's the issue. this is a guy who has struggled with injuries, right? And as he gets older, it's not going to get better. It's not going to get easier, right? And I agree with Rich Dubb in the comments who says, I'm conflicted. On one hand, Seager is an immediate upgrade, but when he's not going to get better, he reminds Rich of when we got Tulo too late. Now, Tulo was way past his prime. Seager's not quite there yet, but he's had some injuries, the last 3 years, he's had 477 at-bats, 475 at-bats, and 380 at-bats. And this year was an appendectomy. He's had some issues in the past, but he might be somebody I would take a gamble on, to be honest with you. If you could get them to eat a little bit of the contract, or maybe even throw in a right-handed bat like Josh Jung to maybe platoon at third base with McMahon, I think that could work. Now, Seager's going to not probably be your long-term shortstop, but he can get you to Lombard. He can give you 2 years until Lombard is there. I have no doubt. And then he can move to third base or move to second base or whatever you want to do with him. And he'll still be a left-handed bat who's a good hitter who can maybe, after Stanton's gone, DH a little bit more. Obviously Judge is still going to be DHing a lot after Stanton leaves too. But, you can get him off his feet. This might be a move that makes sense. Big guy, 6'3", 215 pounds. Always had a ton of talent. Always liked Seager. He does have a lot of torque in his swing, and that can worry you as a guy gets older, right? Are they gonna start having oblique issues or back issues? But that's something you can't try and predict the future with somebody's health. So you just hope that he stays healthy. But he is a winning player, as Lori C says in the comments. I agree. But he does make a lot of money. It is not an easy contract to swallow. And Rich also says that the lefty Yankee Stadium bump will help offset the age. That is something I agree with. I could see him getting an extra 5 to 7 home runs a year just by going to the Yankees. And last year, he missed some time because of the appendectomy. He still had 21 home runs, hit 271. Year before that, 278, 30 home runs. Year before that, 33 home runs. This is a guy who legitimately hit you 30 home runs, right? And if you're going to replace Bellinger, you got to add some pop somewhere, right? If you're going to go with Dominguez full-time in left field and not pay $300 million, or $30 million a year rather, he's not going to get $300 million, but $30 million a year for 5 or 6 years for Bellinger, you got to replace some pop. So that's something to look at. Another guy who we've heard about over the last couple of days is Trevor MeGill. Now, I really like this guy, but this is another one that comes with some issues. I'm going to share with you his StatCast numbers. Now, he missed some time with a flexor strain, but this is a guy who throws really, really hard. He can top out over 100, and he's got a hammer of a curveball. You're talking high fastballs at 99 to 101, and then just a deadly breaking ball. And, 60 strikeouts in 47 innings, so more than a strikeout per inning, 1.13 whip. I've watched him pitch a couple of times, and he's got crazy energy. I just love his energy. He's got that prototypical relief pitcher kind of get the crowd pumped up in the 8th inning kind of energy, screaming, that type of stuff. I love that. It's entertainment value, and I think that there's something to just building up the energy in the stadium late in the game. And I love guys who do that, who can do it with triple digits. It gets everyone pumped up a little bit. When you amp up the energy, guys seem to play better. But the one thing that you got to worry about is the flexor strain. A lot of times, this is anecdotal, but it seems like a lot of times I've heard those words said as a precursor to a couple months later, Tommy John surgery. So, it's a risk, but all pitching is a risk, especially guys who throw that hard because the human body is not designed to do that. So, Trevor MeGill is somebody that has been, talked about. And then today we found out that the Yankees are in on Freddie Peralta. Now, I call him full kitchen Freddie Peralta because he will throw the entire kitchen sink at you. 4-pitch pitcher, fastball, changeup, curveball, and slider. really good metrics across the board. He's one of these guys I've liked for a long, long time as a pitcher. He's had 3 straight years with 170-plus innings pitched and 200 strikeouts. So this is a guy who's durably consistent, right? He pitches 30-plus starts. Two years ago, it was 165 innings, but still, 200-plus strikeouts. This year, not only were the metrics great, you see all the red, 97th percentile of pitching run value, 96th percentile of off-speed run value, expected batting average is 209, but the traditional stats were great too. 17-6, 2.70 ERA. I love this guy. He is a exciting, entertaining personality, and I think the fact that the Yankees are interested the fact that the Yankees are interested in MeGill and Peralta opens the door for a blockbuster trade package, right? I mean, maybe you can get them to include both of those guys. It's just less paperwork. Are people saying that the Dodgers got Scooble? I haven't seen that yet. I've seen a few things in the comments, but somebody confirm that. I think that's just fake news at this point. Anyway, so that's where the Yankees are at in terms of rumors. I do think that adding another starting pitcher makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Seems like something Brian Cashman would do. Word around the campfire is the Yankees are interested in Michael King. They're still interested in Imai. Brian Cashman has been around long enough to know that you only go as far as your pitching takes you. You know, every championship team, every deep October run, it seems to revolve around good starting pitching, you know? And the reality is the Yankees are hamstrung right now. Cole won't be back till May or June. Rodon, maybe May. Schmidt might not pitch at all. Fried has had some injuries in the past. He's healthy now. I'm glad he turned down the WBC because he knows the Yankees are thin, and they're going to be relying on him. Luis Gil, I mean, he got hurt last year. What can you expect out of him? Right? I mean, there's a lot of concern about this rotation, especially earlier in the year. I think there's an opportunity to go out there and get some starting pitching to reinforce the rotation, take some pressure off of Fried. And the Yankees have the young starting pitching that's not quite Major League ready to do it, but it's controllable. Guys like Lalane or like, Selvage or Ben Hess or Bryce Cunningham. These are guys that other teams would have interest in. And, a team that's rebuilding wants guys who are, maybe not already Major League ready, maybe on the cusp. That way you get a longer run with those guys. So I can see the Yankees trading some of their controllable young starting pitching to try and get somebody who's more established, maybe somebody like a Peralta. And I can see them signing Michael King. They loved Michael King. They didn't want to deal him. They had to do it to get Soto. They had to do it. Brian Bashman says, bring back Nasty Nestor. I could see the Yankees doing that, except Nestor didn't seem to enjoy his last little bit of time here with the Yankees, right? He was talking about, I changed my role and yada, yada, yada. Come on. And plus, fans, are they ever going to forget that home run in the postseason to Freddie Freeman? I don't think so. Let's take some voicemail.
It's just a reaction.
This first one is about Alonso.
Yeah, hey, Derek. Paul from Long Island, New York. I love your show.
It's not playing on my end.
Territory.
Sorry, let me start over again. Sorry.
Yeah, hey, Derek. Paul from Long Island, New York. I love your show. I love Pinstripe Territory. Pete Alonso signed with the Orioles today, and I'm wondering what the Yankees will pivot to, because there's a lot of talk about the Mets pivoting to Bellinger and using him as the first baseman / outfielder that the Yankees talked about in the past. I'm just worried with the cap talk that the Yankees talk about all the time, that this might put a real hurt on the eventual signing of anybody this season. So just your thoughts on what I'm saying. All right, take care.
I do think that the Yankees are very much in favor of a cap, and I think that Hal Steinbrenner, unfortunately, he wants to spend less. I think that's true of most people. They want to spend less. But Cohen and the Guggenheims, like these are entities that can afford and will spend whatever it takes. And, Hal Steinbrenner, for better or worse, just is not financially in the same league as those guys. I think it makes sense for Hal to sell the team. If he's worried about the legacy of the team and he doesn't want to go another 50 years without a championship, maybe take your profits, take care of the grandkids and call it a career and let a major Wall Street firm take over for the New York Yankees.
Derek, sorry to call back, but I forgot the two people that sent me down this road of anger. The Edwin Diaz thing happened today, but the comments from Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman are what pissed me off initially. Aaron Boone says, "We're not that far away from the Toronto Blue Jays." Hey, genius, the fact that we're looking up at the Blue Jays means something has gone terribly wrong. Brian Cashman is making it sound like, oh, we just need a couple of pieces and the starting rotation will be spectacular and, we'll be on our way. On our way to what? We're on our way to what? There are people in the comments sections on YouTube under your videos who are now starting to buy this rhetoric that's coming from Cashman and the Yankees. Oh, well, we won 94 games and blah, blah. Who cares about that? Who cares about that? You're not winning the World Series. That's what matters.
I appreciate the call. That's an all-time rant. I got to give you a round of applause, my man. That's an all-time rant. And pretty indicative of the way Yankees fans seem to be feeling right now. The impatience is growing. You hear Cashman in all these interviews talking about it takes time, things are moving at a glacial pace. This is where you find out how good a GM he is. The Yankees don't have a lot of money to work with. We know that Hal doesn't want to go above, 310, 315. Last year, I think he said they were at 319. I can't see him getting higher than that. So how do you improve a team that's probably going to lose Bellinger for whatever's left on the payroll, 25, 30 million tops? You want to leave some room in there too so that you could trade for somebody during the season. You don't want to max it out, now. You want to keep some room in the payroll. Here's Booker.
Good morning, Derek. It's Booker. I'm sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. We're falling apart. Finally, it's Cashman and his atmosphere, the Yankees. Now this Wandy Seager doesn't want to come to us looking at other teams. We used to be, everybody wanted to be with us. Now it seems like no one wants to be with us. It's our coaching, it's our atmosphere being in the Yankees. Cashman's got to go. He's been there 25 years too long.
I don't know about 25 years too long. I mean, his first season was 98, and, they won the World Series, and then they won it again in 99, and then they won it again in 2000. So he started off, and I know he didn't build those teams, but, I think after 04, after you blow a 3-0 series lead, I think everything should have been cleaned out. I think you got to start over fresh as an organization. Can you imagine if we had rant cam after that? Can you imagine the rant? I'd still be going. After blowing that 3-0 lead. That lives in my head rent free. And I blame Brian Cashman for that on not getting enough pitching. Here's Brian.
Well, Big Pete Alonso's coming to the division. He's going to be playing in Baltimore. Mets are going to be doing a revamp and rehaul. I doubt they're going to be done. They're going to be just remaking this team. And history told them, I guess, that, that core of players wasn't going to get it done, so it's time to switch it up. Leading me to my point, are we now a little bit more worried than ever that Cody Bellinger is going to be gone? because Mets clearly have an opening in the outfield where Bellinger pretty much played all year, and first base where Bellinger is pretty much a Gold Glove. And the Mets can easily dump a bigger contract on his head and keep him in New York. So,
yeah, I think you're right on. I think they need him. I was watching the Francesa podcast, I don't know, like an hour ago, and he put it very well. He said the Yankees want Bellinger. The Mets might need Bellinger now. All right, I want to go to a new section, a new segment here called Comment Spotlight. And we highlight this comment here by JR6361. He says, does not understand the Jazz Chisholm love. The guy is streaky as hell, and he makes brain-dead decisions in the field. I get he can be entertaining, but is that the metric we're going by now? Rather have boring, have a guy than... I rather have boring and have a guy who's paying attention, I think he means, on both sides of the game. So, first of all, thank you for the comment. I hear you, and I get it. Like, the bonehead moves are annoying. I'm going to share Jazz's metrics, his actual metrics, to show that, like, this is a guy who was above average as a hitter, as a base runner, and as a fielder, right? And I think he's only getting better. I think next year, if he stays with that 70% approach, he's a 260 hitter with 35 home runs and 35 stolen bases. And I think a full year at second base, he'll be more comfortable. He's got to make less aggressive throws, you know? Sometimes the best move is to just not throw the baseball. Just hang on to it. He needs to learn that. Let's get a few more comments here. Raymond Vellon says the Yankees are going to roll the same team. No uploads. I think he means upgrades. I guess we'll see. Raymond says Donovan over Jazz. I don't know. You got to trade to get Donovan. I mean, Jazz, you already got him. Just let him play. Just let Jazz be Jazz. I mean, I agree with Caden Mills. Guy was 30-30 here. 30-30. I mean, he can play. We get that he makes some bonehead mistakes. But, look, the guy's an athletic freak. I want him on the club. And he's fun. He's a good guy. And that means something. So, I guess we'll find out over the next couple of days if any of these rumors come to fruition. But once again, Yankees in on Freddie Peralta. The Orioles get Pete Alonso. Yankees interested in Trevor, MeGill. Could be an interesting couple of days here. All right, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see. If you enjoyed this content, please hit that like button and subscribe. Check out nydesigns.shop for some great merch. Support our sponsors. It helps keep the show going. And you can find us on all major audio platforms, so be sure to subscribe there too. But most importantly, come back again soon. We'll see you next time.